By the way, to wrap up we have next week, yes, next week, just to wrap things up, we're going to conclude the class this semester with perspectives of the governor. And we're going to be graced with two current members of the governor's cabinet, Jay Gonzalez, Secretary for Administration and Finance, and Greg Balecki, Secretary of Housing and Economic Development, to give us some idea about what Governor Patrick has in mind for the next 4 years, aside from balancing the budget. And maybe that's about it. But no, obviously, even with the budget constraints, there will be an agenda. There are things the governor wants to achieve in the next 4 years, and our guests will reflect on those goals. Just a reminder that next semester, starting in January, and we'll send it all out to you, we're on our email list, we'll be doing the spring semester. It starts in January, but it's the spring semester, and that's just our terminology around here. Demography is Destiny, which I think would be a wonderful review of how demographics affect so much of our lives. And we actually have structured the course in sort of in a micro sense than growing up. We start with the family. How has the American family changed in the last 40, 50 years? We start with home. What is the nature of entertainment, of home life? How has that changed? With, of course, things like the large percentage of women entering the workforce in the post-war period. We talk about neighborhood. How has neighborhood changed? How have cities changed? Nation, the world. And in all these ways, we're looking at how shifting demography of the nation, whether it's by age, because of immigration, because of changes in mores, for example, the role of women have had huge impacts in demographic terms, and how all those changes affect life, culture, policy in the United States and elsewhere in the world. So that's next semester. We look forward to seeing you here beginning in January. Our topic tonight, to conclude our substantive set of topics, we were 2 weeks ago, we delved into energy and environment, had a really nice discussion on the challenges and opportunities facing the Commonwealth. And tonight, related to those topics, is one that is of tremendous importance to any governor, because as any governor will tell you, sometimes your entire administration is in fact shaped by the way it addresses transportation and infrastructure issues. Whether it's in fact the big dig, as it's so called, whether it is the Massachusetts Department of Transportation reform, whether it's in fact dealing with crumbling bridges, whether it's in fact extending the commuter rail to the southeast of Massachusetts, or dealing with the MBTA's cost structures. In all these ways, governors in Massachusetts and governors everywhere have had to deal with tremendously important, expensive infrastructure and transportation issues. Because states, in fact, have always been in the forefront on transportation issues. And then, of course, in the 20th century, the federal government coming in with an additional support and money in that respect. And tonight, we have really two really wonderful experts to help us, and knowledgeable about Massachusetts in particular, and transportation in general, to help us through this discussion. Stephanie Pollock, my colleague here at Northeastern, is Associate Director of the Dukakis Center and oversees the center's research agenda, and also has her own research areas in areas of transportation policy, transit-oriented development, sustainability, and equitable development. She's also the core faculty of the school and our master's program in urban regional policy. Pardon me. She teaches courses such as strategizing public policy and housing policy and transportation policy. She's also, she co-chaired Governor Patrick's 2006 Transition Working Group on Transportation, and served on the Mayor Menino's Climate Action Leadership Committee in 2009-2010. Before coming to Northeastern in 2004, Stephanie was a senior executive and attorney at the Conservation Law Foundation, which is New England's leading environmental advocacy organization, going way back to the early 1970s. And during her 2-decade career at CLF, she worked on issues including transportation and transit policy, smart growth and sustainable development, and childhood lead poisoning. From 2004 to 2010, she was also a partner in a strategic consulting firm, environmental consulting firm, Blue Wave Strategies, where she advised clients on smart growth, transit-oriented development, and other green real estate projects. Stephanie received her bachelor's in mechanical engineering and in public administration, two bachelor's degrees from MIT, and her JD from Harvard Law School. And Stephanie will go first. And then Dan Grabowskis, until recently senior fellow for public policy at Mass Inc. and now a consultant for transportation policy issues. From 2000, he was at Mass Inc. for roughly a year and a half, roughly. And from prior to that, for 4 years, he was the general manager of the MBTA, Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, the nation's 5th largest public transportation network. While at the MBTA, he oversaw the successful introduction of the Charlie card, smart card system. How many people have Charlie cards? See that? No more jingling tokens. Yes. And which has been very successful, obviously. Introduced a number of customer-focused innovations, such as the first in the country Wi-Fi service on commuter rail. And he also focused on his efforts on and resources on increasing the MBTA's accessibility for people with disabilities. From 2003-2005, he served as Massachusetts Transportation Secretary. For the previous 3 years before that, he served the Massachusetts Registrar of Motor Vehicles, where he reduced waiting times at the R&V branches and earned praise for initiating extensive service and managerial improvements. I recall, in fact, you created online services at the R&V at your time. And then prior to that, he served as Director of the Massachusetts Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation, and previously as Chief of Staff to the Department of Economic Development. So he's been around the state of Massachusetts in various guises, attesting to governors' need for people like him who know how to get things done. He also has another side that most people don't realize. For 2 years, 1995-96, he lived in Lithuania, working for the International Republican Institute, training Democratic reformers to assume leadership roles in emerging democracies, and served as an election observer and trainer in Nigeria, Bulgaria, and Morocco. So he's had an interesting, sort of diverse career. And it goes on even beyond that. But let me just conclude by saying, prior to that, early on, he served as Chief of Staff to State Senator Richard Chisay, who was a Lieutenant Governor candidate this year, and former Senator Mary Padula. He was the Republican nominee for Massachusetts State Treasurer in 2002, and he's a graduate of Holy Cross. So we have two really well-informed expert guests tonight, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce Stephanie Pollack.